27th day, Tuesday, 27th day of February 2024. Very, very important broadcast. And today we shall be looking at Nigeria critically, especially on the total current plan and design to destabilize, and to stop the people's yearning for freedom. Remember, so many things are going wrong in Israel right now. Their reform, their so-called reform, economic reform, is imbalance because there is no cogent program looking economically and socially economically. Let me put it that way, because there's no cogent program and plan that cushions the effect of economic reforms in line with getting the people to be comfortable in spite of it. Every society is uniquely composed. When you come to a poor society where majority of the people are poor, your economic reform must be reorganized, not just what you learned in school and just putting things the way you see anywhere in the world, but you must reorganize your economic program to make sure that it suits and balances with the situation you have found yourself, so that the effect of whatever change you are making, because the change does not affect the politicians, it doesn't affect the criminals, the businessmen, those stealing the resources, those enjoying and getting the benefits from the government. It affects majority of the people. Every change you want to make in a society, the common people, especially in Africa where we have majority of the people poor, basically in Africa, you have to administer your economic reform in a strategic way that goes with the social and idiosyncratic nature of the system. The nation, each nation that is trapped under that contraption, Nigeria, has a lot of the people poor. And if you have to carry out a reform, you must consider the uniqueness of your system. That is how it is done. So getting to say that you're carrying reform and you're telling the people to bear it, to endure for a while. People are dying. People are literally dying. People are begging on the streets when they see someone hungry. They go for the person. I mean, so when they see someone dressed fine on the streets or driving, they rush to the person. Please, I want to eat a man. People are hungry. People are dying because of hunger. I am telling you, in Nigeria today, people are dying. Majority of the people are dying. People are eating what they are not supposed to eat. People eat grass. People go to the bush to look for anything to eat. People are eating anything. And you're telling the people to endure. How can you tell hungry people? You can imagine someone not eating for one day. Then you can imagine someone not having food for 1 week. Then you can imagine someone not even having hope of having food from anywhere. And you are telling them that you are carrying out a reform. They should be calm. They should endure. This is the time to endure. Why would you carry out a gross action on your economic situation, or gross change on your economy, without balancing the effects or creating an equilibrium between the economic reform and the effect on the people? You must make cogent provisions. I was listening to this to the is it the CBN governor, also central bank, governor, and he was saying some stuff that these changes would, you know, they are releasing money for some kinds of investment and all of that. Why didn't you put those things in place first before you begin to change things drastically? So you have to change things drastically. The people will now die before those things you are trying to put in place now begin to materialize. This is what we are talking about. We have people who are clueless. They don't care because Nigeria is only meant to make money. Nigeria is just a composition that is meant to extract and drain the blood of the people, take the people's resources, cause the people to die, frustrate the people with hunger and poverty, so that the people will continue to rely on the contraption for survival. The people will be weak to fight. The people will be very, very drained mentally, so that they don't see themselves as able to come together to do something for themselves. Today, we're going to be looking at the Nigerian government's effort to destabilize and to make sure that the cause and the cry for freedom is silenced. And I'm going to be taking you today uniquely through a process that you would come to understand what is happening. Some of you might be surprised what happened with the court case of yesterday of Mazen Namikano. Now, some of you don't know that they are buying time. They are buying time for what they are trying to make you believe. And before all this while, that's why you see most of the actors like Shettima. Now, some of you know the history of Shettima. Maybe some of you have not come across one of his stuff he did with Ibukule, former governor of Ogun State, I think in 2013 or something. The conversation he had with him, and from that conversation, you're also going to, if you remember that conversation, I will not have time to play it today, but I would want to, maybe next time I'm going to play it, maybe tomorrow or so. I'm going to play it and at the same time read the text from Vanguard, of which the statements made by the Vice President, the Shettima, saying some stuff, and everything he was saying is in line with what he said in that communication, which means that the mindset is still the same, but there is a grand plan under this mindset, a grand fundamental plan under this mindset. We must continue to understand what the game plan is, what the design is, what the program is, what the people are up to. Because the truth here is the slave master will never want you to be free, and he would always plan. That is why they always engage highly strategic people who are very, very knowledgeable about strategizing deceptively or in deception. They engage them, they pay them good money, they engage them in the economic side, in the social side, in the political side. They have strategists from all sphere, social strategists, economic strategists, social strategists, of course, linked to emotional strategy and all of those details. Um, Political strategists, and of course, different kinds of strategists, psychological strategists, and all of that, to be able to work in tandem so that they can create designs and programs and structure and system that would be put in place to frustrate, keep the people continually in the mindset of slavery, and keep them continually yearning to continue to be under the slave master, because the more they try to get themselves free, the more they look at their situation and the more they want to say, oh, I have to remain under the slave master because I'm afraid. They are always afraid of what next they're going to do. They're always afraid of how they're going to be free. They're always afraid to take action because they believe that if they take action, they might get very hungry. Today is the 27th day of February, as I told you. Today is Tuesday, and of course, this is 5 p.m. Biafra time. Right now, as I'm talking to you, it's just 5 p.m. Biafra time, and we're going to be looking critically at the, the talk of Shettima, trying to imply something. Now, some of you might be wondering, as I said initially, why Mazen Namdekano's case has been delayed, why Tinubu cannot just make a presidential order and tell them to release him. Some of you might be wondering that in spite of the fact that the Buhari, those who are fronting as Buhari have left office, um, Mazen Namdekano is still there, hoping that based on the fact that someone like Igboho has been given a presidential pardon and he's back into the contraption, someone like Mazen Namdekano, who is also fighting the same thing that he is fighting, in fact, in a more strategic way for everybody. Now, some of you might be wondering why they don't want to give him that. Now, let me tell you something. Mazen Namdekano represents a people that are very industrious. One, a people that are movers, that can change things. He represents a nation that has resources. He represents, remember, every fight, every colonization, every control of territories in this world is because of resources. Get this, very, very important. basically natural resources, and then human resources follows. Everywhere you see invasion, attack, you know, different kinds of, attack on people and nations, especially what you see the West doing to Africa and all of that. It is not because they love you. The wars you see in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, all these places where there are wars and fighting, these are being sponsored by people who have interest in those places based on the resources. If you go to Democratic Republic of Congo right now or Sudan, where you have the rebels, there are lots of resources there. They're exploiting and using to fund as much as they receive funding from international organizations to individuals and all that, and nations that have interest in those places. They sponsor these things because one, they would have to sell their weapons. Two, they would have to take control of those territories and get their men to strategically control those places where resources are found. Look at the mess that France caused for themselves in Niger Republic for uranium. Look at what is happening in Sambisa Forest because of California. Look at what is happening everywhere there is a particular resource. There is always terrorists groups funded. You don't know where they get their weapons. You don't know who is giving them monies. You don't know who is sponsoring them. The international community know where they are, but yet they turn a blind eye. Let me give you an instance. In 2000 and was it 2020 or 21? Also, I can't remember now. I think Mazin Amikan was still, not yet, kidnapped. An extraordinary rendition. Also, he was also the group called Boko Haram took some U.S. Persons or citizens of the U.S. to Sambisa Forest, kidnapped them. The U.S. came in with their marine. They killed the whole terrorists around that area, took their men, and went. How were they able to know the precise place? Simple. They have everything it takes, like one of their persons said, one of their reporters on CNN said. They know what to do to stop the mess, but it is not a priority. You know why it is not a priority? Because priority is very, very important in their actions. If priority stops them from getting the resources in the contraption, if they have any clue that they are taking the resources from the contraption, Nigeria is going to be threatened or stopped, it becomes a priority. For now, it is not threatened because the Californium and all those minerals they are taken from the Sambisa forest are being sold to the West, sold out there, and they are making money from it. So it is better for those guys to be there, securing those places, attacking, and take control of the whole territory of the contraption called Nigeria. It is better for the Arabs. And look at what they are doing to UK, or is it Britain today? The UK. They are taking over UK. Islam is taking over UK. And you know what that means? Control. And once they control UK, they can control Nigeria. They can control any other place they have interests. So these things are very, very important and fundamental for us to understand. And that is the purpose of today's broadcast. We're going to be looking at this critically. Please, as you join in, like this video, share on all your social media platforms. Please, very, very important because this has to go far. Some information I'll be giving to you today, it has to go far. And at the same time, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to it so that we can reach far more people as we should and as it is mandated that we do it, because truth must prevail, truth must be told, truth must make free. It's a process, it makes free. Now let me go to Vanguard. I'm going to be getting getting the information from Vanguard, of which the submission is made of Shettima, and at the same time also of Governor Mba of Abia State, who is eager and talking about development. Yes, we understand development is important, and the truth about it is that our land must be developed. And one of the things why we decided to come together, leaving the criminals behind, those who are talking about, just making you believe they're fighting for freedom and all of that. The reason why we are not going with them is because we know that they don't actually mean what they mean, and they're actually exploiting you and stealing from you. And so we decided to come together to see how we can begin to get our people, sensitize them, so that they can come together and begin to think of how we can develop our land. The mystery about the strategy we are talking of in developing our land, developing our communities, is that it contains the formula for our freedom. But anyways, we believe Mazen and Khan will be out soon. Hopefully by next month, the judgment on the bail application will be made, and he will be granted bail, because the Supreme Court has already said that not granting him bail, you know, is not right. They said revoking his bail application was wrong because he was actually complying with the bail application. So revoking it, the High Court revoking it, the Supreme Court said it, that revoking his bail application was wrong. So telling them to go back to the High Court, and now the case is back to the High Court. They cannot revoke his bail application. He must be granted the bail. And that is what is going to happen. Now, let me tell you what these people are doing with the delay, trying to delay tactics to keep Mazen Namdekano, to keep him. They are trying to make sure that they are trying to buy time, anyways. Now, in this period, if you observe what they have been doing, people like Mba, is talking about development. We want to develop Biafra land. We want to do this. We are doing that. We are doing this. They want to make you feel that things are happening, and then you begin to say, okay, you now come to support them. And when you're supporting them, you can now say, okay, this is why we're looking for our freedom, for our land to grow, for our land to develop. That is why we're seeking for freedom. So since this governor is going to give us the development and industrialization we're looking for, then why are we talking about freedom anymore? They want to change your mind by doing the things that they should have done a long time ago that they have not done, knowing that the yearnings of the people this time around is critical, and it's getting to a stage where there's going to be a massive bloody revolution that is going to be, it's going to be very, very massive. But to avoid all of that stuff, and knowing that what the people are thinking of is their land to be developed, and all them getting some stuff, in their land and all of that. So they want to now begin to give you that impression. So keeping Mazen Namdekano there, not so that you don't hear his voice, the voice that thunders and makes you remember that your freedom is very sacrosanct. They keep him there, and they make you feel like they're going to develop the land. And that is the two they are using most of these governors. And that is what they're using these governors as tools to achieve. And the same time, also, Shettima has come into the picture. Now, remember, the issue of Shettima is critical. That is why I decided to talk about it today. And I'm going to actually give you the narrative of why I said it's critical, and open your eyes to some facts that you must understand today. Remember, Mazen Namdekano stands for critical freedom. Freedom, nothing else but freedom. Now, the reason why it is important to note that freedom is beyond just development is for you to understand this. When you have a nation, you already have a sovereign platform to develop. The reason why, as people, why God used the issue of division through language, use language to divide the people, is because it is a very potent tool to create division and to cause people to be on their own and develop on their own. Now let me say this, let me put it this way. Why God came down during the building of the Tower of Babel, after the city of Babel had been built, the tower was being built, God now came down to divide them with language. Remember, language is a product of culture, because through cultural means, you develop a kind of language to interpret your culture and express your culture in different ways. So your language has a way of expressing your culture and projecting your culture to people, and it's a way of identity. God used the issue of language to divide the people during the building of the tower, because when the division comes in through cultural means, or changes their mindset, because language has a way of changing the mindset. Because when you don't understand my language, I relate with someone who understands my language, and we can gang up together to do things together. But when you don't understand my language, language is interpreted in different ways. When you don't understand my intent, when you don't come in agreement with me, in this regard, that's what language it's multifaceted. When you don't understand my language, when you don't understand my plan, my intent, when you don't come in agreement with me, can two work together except they be agreed? We would always have a clash. So having a nation is like also having a particular language guiding a kind of people. In the context of Nigeria, there is no way you can have an understanding and work in peace, because the dividing factor is clear. Culturally, which is, of course, culture being a kind of language, or the broad spectrum language that divides people, has put a division already. For you to now, don't you think about it? Why did God have to use language to divide the people building the Tower of Babel? Is because there is a thin line between agreement and disagreement. And that thin line is one thing like language, or one little thing like disagreement, or one little thing like not understanding you and you understanding me. That misunderstanding comes with the variation of language. And once that misunderstanding is there, we cannot do things together. That is what is conspicuously evident in Nigeria. There is no way you can work with a Fulani man to the fullest. You can't. You can only pretend you're working together. You can only pretend you are having a kind of understanding. You can only pretend that you are building one nation. You can only pretend, and they would always pretend on that level, because they are politicians, and because they have to take the resources and make you believe what they want you to believe. And they would do that by carrying out different programs. I told you that they employ different kinds of strategists, They employ emotional strategists or social strategists. They employ psychological strategists. They employ political strategists. They employ social strategists. They employ economic strategists. These people watch and observe your idiosyncratic way of behavior, socially, economically, politically, and all otherwise, and they use it to project how you can behave tomorrow. And they strategize in that regard to put you continually in bondage. And of course, they also use it as a means of devising a way they can use in controlling your mind. That is what it is. That is what it is. So you must understand the fullness of all of this stuff for you to be able to overcome at all times when they bring up all these their shenanigans, all these their manipulative devices. You know, because people like Shettima coming to talk about Southeast now need to be developed and all of that is like it's a device to make you feel, oh, okay, now they are beginning to understand. But no, that's not the issue. That's not the reason why he's saying that. He's saying that because it is a strategy in the plan. They have to make you believe something, so that when you believe something, when Mazen Amikano comes out tomorrow, we will tell him, okay, let's just since they have started developing our land, let's just allow it for now. Let's wait for a while. Let's watch them develop the land. Let's see what they can do. And then before you know it, you will be opposing Mazen Namkan. So they want to brainwash you with the issue of development and all of this stuff, as if all of them now are now agreeing for development. Fulani agreeing, everybody's agreeing, you know. So with that now, they want to make you feel that everybody's now agreeing that there must be development and Igbo land must be developed. It must be industrialized. And then you now say, okay, now they are now beginning to understand what it means to be one Nigeria. No, they are not understanding that, because their plan is still Abuja Declaration of 1989 to conquer your land. And they are only going to use that means as takia to keep you in deceit. There must be that strategy continually and being uploaded and being updated regularly, and then uploaded, so that they would continue to deceive and keep you deceived. They would use different kinds of people also to keep your mind busy, and they keep you busy, but yet those ones are working for Nigeria, like the criminal in Finland who is busy doing all he's doing everywhere. But all he's doing now, this is today is not the day to talk about him, but on Friday I'm going to be talking about him. I think I said every Friday I'm going to be doing that also, and all of that. And that is going to be once, in the week. Every Friday, I'm going to talk about him and other criminals and other things. Other days I will be looking at critical points that I need to handle and help us to realize some stuff. Because there's something that was posted today by him on Twitter that I just laughed. Our people are just that. But anyways, on Friday I'm going to talk about it. So let me not be pushed to talk about him today, and all of that. I'll talk about it on Friday. Now listen, Mazen Namdekano is being kept and delayed in that dungeon because they must perfect their plans. Hopefully, between now and 19th, they want to. Shettima is now out to talk about Southeast. They want to give you an impression that the politicians now are beginning to get sensitive about Southeast and understand the plight of the people. And you see some people saying, "Oh, okay, they have to. Yes, we need development and all of that. If they can do all of this stuff, and then you see we can move on together." You can never move on together because you can never be together. There is a form of agreement, whether oral agreement, whether written agreement, whether cultural agreement and all of that. There are different kinds of agreement. Once you don't have the same thinking faculty, or you can't have the same thinking faculty anyways, but you don't have the same way, idiosyncratic pattern of reasoning, especially being divided by culture, religion, and all of this stuff. Now, did you guys all know what happened recently? Yesterday, let me give you this. Let me give you this. I think this can help us also to reason out this issue of division that we can never be one. In Pakistan, a young girl of 25 who came into Pakistan, with a husband. She's not from that area. She just came in and she was putting on a cloth, and there's something written on it, Arabic, with Arabic. And suddenly, the men on the street saw this stuff and they said, why would Quran stuff be written on her cloth? That it is blasphemy. And in Pakistan, blasphemy is tantamount to death. And before you know it, they began to shout blasphemy. They grabbed her. Within minutes, over 200 men have gathered, bloodthirsting. Now, do you know why they are bloodthirsting? Because they are involved in a cultural way that believes in sucking the blood of those who are not from their religious point of view. Their religion has taught them to desire the blood of those who they call non-believers. Their religion has patterned their mind to see as delicious the blood of anybody who is not a Muslim. Their religion has made it that they are looking for, they are eager to help Allah eliminate anybody who does not believe in their religion. So seeing that woman and suddenly seeing an Arabic stuff written on her cloth, they said it's blasphemy. Within minutes, there were 200 men. They were about to lynch her to death before the police showed up and blocked them. Now, funny enough, let me tell you, even as the police blocked them, they were still striving. They want to kill her. The police had to block her and then take her to the police station. Only for one of their Islamic cleric, after coming to that place and then they observed her and all of that, discovered that that thing that is written on her, it has nothing to do with the Quran. Now, because of, you can imagine, she would have been killed if not that the police blocked them. She would have been killed. This is what culture, religion can do. This is what a mindset developed and encapsulated in a particular way of life, which is religious, in a particular pattern that people are controlled or remote controlled to behave using religion. This is what it causes. You can imagine in the contraption called Nigeria, the average thinking of a Fulani, the average thinking of a Hausa person, the average thinking of a Bagi person or Buhari or any other tribe. Their thinking is clearly different from your thinking. You might have gone there, you might have been living in the north, they might have been living in your land, but the truth is that there's one side of them, one side of you that is evident that you will tell yourself, you will not deceive yourself, you tell yourself that truly we are not the same. And because we're not the same, we're not thinking the same way, we have a different orientation, we have a different way of reasoning. Sorry, since my cap is bent, let me fix it well. We have a different way of reasoning. We have things that we take as values. We have things that we don't believe. The value of the other person is not your value. So what you value is not what they value. What I value is not what they value. We must understand that this is the difference. That is why it is easy for them to pick up knife and cut off your neck. Because religion has made them value some stuff differently from what you value. You believe in waking up in the morning, going to look for stuff for your children, for your wife, for your family to feed and to be okay. You are thinking of developing, building houses, buying cars, investments, and all of that. They are thinking of fighting for Allah. They are thinking of killing you and all of these values. So when they come to tell you that development in Southeast and all of that would help and all of that, they are only playing the Takia card, the tactics of Takia. So any governor who is telling you that you should forget about your freedom because they are trying to industrialize, let them industrialize Biafra land. Good, fine and good. It's very good. We want each of them to take the monies they get to do that. But let me tell you why it is important that now I've given you one point why it is important that freedom should not be traded for any kind of development. One, cultural differences and all of this, religious differences and all of that, as long as your culture is different, religion becomes a barrier because at the point now, somebody who is a Muslim, for instance, can never live in peace with somebody who is a Christian, no matter how you look at it. Forget all these manipulations and deceit. You know why? The Quran clearly states that the unbeliever is not your friend. The Quran states it, it's clear. So if it is clearly stated in that regard, then why do you want me to believe now that in my own position, where something is stated differently, that anybody should be part of me and we should all be friends and all of that? I should make sure I work to get you to be part of me and live in peace with you and, and extend the hand of friendship to you, and we should have this live in peace with bear your burden, bear one another's burden, and also live in peace with the neighbor and all of that, seek for peace and all of that. The Bible tells me that. The Quran says no, that that person is your enemy. How are you going to live in peace? How do you want to live in peace? That's the big question. Because we must understand peace in context. Quran says that once you deal with and you eliminate the non-Muslim, the infidel, that is when peace is preached. That is when you are talking about peace. In fact, peace means taking away the unbeliever, the infidel, and either you kill them or you subject them to become your slaves. Now, their men, you tax them, the ladies, you take them as booty of war after defeating their men, defeating their land. Their children, you enslave them, you give their wives, I mean their girls and their ladies as wives to your men, and that was what their leader did. Muhammad himself did all of that during his time, and so that has become the narrative and the norm to form the basis of the religion. Now, how are you going to live in peace with such kinds of person when the understanding and the agreement with their tradition or their religion spells something different from what you call peace? Because every agreement is meant to bring peace so that there will be no commotion and fighting and all of that. Every agreement is meant to sort that. But now here is an agreement that tells them that for you to be part of this religion, you must seek for the blood of the one who is an infidel, or is an unbeliever, or is not, who is a non-Muslim. And this other one tells you that for the person who is a non-Christian, you must seek to see that you win that person as one that God loves. And that one who is seeking for your head, you want to go and win him. How are you going to do that? Because you can't defend yourself when somebody's coming against you with a sword. You must pick up sword. So which means that there must be fighting, there must be war, there must be fighting. So to avoid that, the best thing you have to do is to make sure that you stay on in your own nation, have your own laws and rules according to your culture and religion. And the other person who also has these extreme rules or culture and religion stays in their own nation and have that guiding them so they can live peacefully, in their own system, and you live peacefully in your own system, because your rules, your culture and everything defines how you live. But where you have the two having different, just like what we have there now, look at what was done to that lady, that young lady 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can't remember how many years now. Is it 2 years ago or so? That young lady in is it Sokoto or where? That was stoned to death. What's her name now? Can you remind me her name? I'm trying to remember her name. Now, what law in the Nigeria contraption constitution guarantees or spells out that she should be lynched because she talked about she talked about the Muslims? What law? What crime did she commit? Listen to the voice messages. She never committed any crime. There's no law in the constitution of the zoo, the contraption that says that she should be lynched for airing her view, but she was lynched and killed. No repercussion. Nobody paid the price. Nobody faced the law regarding that. That matter is closed, sealed, and closed. Nobody's talking about it anymore. The Christian community, the Christian leaders, the Christian can, and all of them, none of them are talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. You know why? Because these are two different kinds of people living in one, and one is in control, force by force, because that one is violent, and that's those ones who are the Muslims. They're violent. So the one who wants peace is calm, and he's being killed always, and he cannot speak. The one who is violent is standing strong and telling you that speak, let me come for you. Even Christian leaders cannot speak. So you see the criticalness of this situation. So they are buying time to keep us in this situation. So they're buying time to keep Mazin and Mikano there so that they would brainwash you, brainwash me, and brainwash everyone who is a Nigerian, and brainwash those who are Biafrans who now they want to convert to be Nigerians because they want to keep everyone subjugated and restricted. And this is very fundamental. You must understand that the reason why we cannot accept development in or trade it for the freedom we seek is because one, we are culturally different. Two, the reason why you can't trade it is because in the definition of true development and success, you cannot be successful being under slavery. No, there's no amount that you have, no matter how much you are given by the slave master, it does not define success. Because your success is first in your freedom as a person. The biggest definition or the greatest part of defining your success is in your freedom. So once you are free, your success is not determined by money. It is determined by your personality and who you are. And who you are is connected to the nation you are from, the race you are from. If your race is still in bondage and held down in the contraption of bondage, can never say you are successful. You can only flourish and make money wherever you are, but you are not successful because you are out of place. You are not in your place. You are out of position. You as a person, you are a product or a brand product of another person. And once you belong to somebody else as a slave, then you cannot talk about success. You cannot say you are successful. Let me put it that way. Because success is the freedom to exercise your human right, fundamental human right, and also exercise your ability to utilize your strength, your gifting, your talent, and everything to make a difference in your life and in the life of those who are around you. Sorry, let me connect this to power. The life of the people around you. But when you are still a slave under the contraption and being controlled by the Fulanis, controlled by the British, and then you are making money, and then you think they have industrialized your area, and then you now say, "Oh, our area has been industrialized. Oh, we should all be Nigerians." Then you have failed because that does not define success at all. It doesn't define success in any way. But you must understand the fullness of freedom and the fullness of success comes when you are free. That is why we can't trade our freedom for any other thing. It's not possible. We can't trade our freedom for any other thing. We can't. Because what defines our freedom is who we are as a people. What defines every freedom is who we are as a people. What defines you is who you are as a person. Now, if you're asked, who are you? Are you going to say you're a Nigerian? That means you are saying I'm a slave. So that is what you did. That is what defines you because that's what you say. And once you say you're a slave, then you are not successful because no slave can be successful as long as you are bound. Why would then somebody else be controlling you? Why would you be controlled by somebody else? Why? Now let's go to the issue of this man Shettima today. Now let me read out the thing he posted here. and what he said, because it is important for me to point out these things. Nigeria will work if Southeast works. Shettima, Nigeria will work. That means slavery will be very, very effective. Now, do you know what that means? It simply means that the means of controlling the people using Nigeria would be easier when they try to give the Southeast some change to industrialize their place, or they allow the place to be industrialized. That means we have been struggling with them all this period. We have been fighting with them. They have been fighting us because they are hungry, and it seems that it has gotten to their nerves, and now they are fighting. So the best thing we can do now to make this slavery mandate, which the name Nigeria represents, of course, the name Nigeria represents slavery, to make this slavery mandate work well, better than it is working now. Let's allow and give some development, or let's allow the Southeast work. Let's give some development to the Southeast, because all the heat they are having is coming from the Southeast. The South-South, the so-called South-South, there's nothing like South-South. It's just that they divided the people to keep other people silent, and other ones who are cowards. Basically, in the area they call Southeast is dominated by the Igbo tribes only. Every other tribe is in the other aspects of the South-South, including the Igbos that control Iguacha and some parts of other places. But they know that the Igbos will not be able to do enough there, because through the war and other times, they have tried to make those ones believe that they are not Igbos. So based on that, they have used that to silence most of them. And then now they are in the midst of other tribes there too, who also are quiet, who don't want to speak. The Igbo tribe has always been the one to speak, and basically, because the Southeast is dominated by the Igbos, definitely they will always speak. Now, he's now telling you that, of course, first, I want you to understand what Nigeria is. Nigeria is slavery. All You don't need me to preach this over and over for you to know. Nigeria is slavery. So if he's saying that Nigeria will work, he means that he's saying that slavery will work, right? Common sense. Nigeria will work means slavery will work. Because it seems like these people are trying to revolt from continuing to be Nigerians or slaves. Because as long as that name Nigeria remains, exploiting the resources of the people will continue, taking them as slaves to other nations, and all of that will continue. Today I hear I'll do a particular talk about that. Yesterday, when I was listening to one of the BBC, heard I got the information that Mauritania has become the route now to go to Europe, and most of our people are part of that. They go to Mauritania, they work, they join, they have some work and make money, and then use the money to pay illegal um, pirates. Pay pirates and all these people engaging in illegal um, migration. Pay them. Now, my question here is: if you could go there and work and raise the kind of money that can pay pirates to cross you into Europe, why not add another 1 year or 2 years to the work and make more money, save them, and come back to your nation and invest the money? What is in Europe? I Oh my God, that is what the slavery. We will talk about that. I didn't want to discuss it today. Maybe tomorrow or so we're going to discuss that. I'm going to make that as a particular topic, that we're going to discuss. He says Nigeria will work if Southeast works. That means slavery will continue to be firm, solid, and binding if they can begin to give Southeast a kind of development that they yearn for. That's what he said. That's what the title of the stuff, what he said. They now said something, as Governor Mba says, Light Up Nigeria program will spur Southeast industrialization. Good. Mba should continue his work, but let him not link it to be that he wants the people's mind to be off freedom. Let it be that he's doing that and he's not fighting the freedom cause. He can embark on development. That's what we want. No problems. But he shouldn't make it a plan to cause the people to lose their focus on their freedom. Because no matter how much you light up Nigeria, light up slavery, You can never, as much as you light up slavery, you are delighting the nations, the indigenous nations locked up. But when you light up the slavery in regards to industrialization, so that you can use it as a means of enhancing the thinking faculty of the people, so that they would concentrate also in imagining and seeing that when they are free, it will be better for them. Then that is when you are working. Now, the script says, you can see that in Vanguard, the script says Vice President Kasim Shettima has said that Nigeria will fully work when the Southeast performs optimally in industrialization with adequate power supply. He equated the region with the Jews, whom he said are practically mobile, economically enterprising, and educationally ambitious. Now, let me remind you something. If you remember the discussion that Shettima had with Ibukunle, the former governor of Ogun State, in 2013 or so, I think, if you remember that conversation, he described the Igbos also as the Jews, and he positively spoke about what they have and the kind of things they have, the potential, their potentials. But in that same conversation, he was designing and telling the person he's speaking with the plans he has or the plans he thinks that would help to to um, exploit the qualities or the grace that is on an average Igbo man. He mentioned also the same thing. That means his mindset is still the same. Because if he is realizing, if he is saying here, as he said then, that the Igbos are like the Jews, they are very industrious, they can make things change, they can work this, and that was what he said the Buhari also then I think it was was it Buhari was talking about or who was the president then? Was it Obasanjo? So I think Obasanjo. So he was saying that I think he was talking about the is it Jonathan? Also, he was talking about one leader who was there then, and he said that this person would have cashed into, he was talking about. I think he was talking about the leaders then that they should have cashed into these abilities of the Igbos to do some things. But he was also bringing an idea that this strength of the Igbos can be exploited, sorry, not explored, exploited to disfavor them and favor the North and other parts, the West. When he was talking about when they come in, what they will do is they will make sure that Lagos becomes, they will take their lands from Lagos. They will make sure that, and that is what is happening in Lagos today. They're destroying lands and all of that. People will say, hey, they built on the area of those stuff. Are they not the ones who gave them those places? People are saying that they built on water areas, and there are so many places there too that are not on water areas or water passway or all of that, but they are destroying them. Anyways, that's not the talk for today. Now, he said so many things to equip the North, to make them have enough food, to displace the Igbos, to make Lagos a very huge hub for industrialization, and to displace the Igbos in spite of their abilities and everything. Exploiting their abilities, but displacing them in the process. That was what he said. Now, he is now saying here now that the Southeast will work, but he's now mentioning their strength. He now calls them Jews. He's like they are like the Jews. Now, equating them with the Jews the same way he had been putting the narrative. Now, what is he trying to achieve here? Now he is the vice president, right? He must give you words the way you would like them so that you don't sense, Now, let me ask you this question. Why is he the one used to speak about this, even after he has spoken contrary to what he is talking about here now, even if he is on the same narrative of understanding and believing and pointing out the strength of the Igbos? Why is he now the one being used to speak here, even after he has spoken on that 2013 stuff? Also, is it 2013? Also, yes, 2013, when he made when he had that discussion with the person he was talking with. After that, why is he now the one being used here now to make it look like he is standing for the Igbos to be successful. You know why? He played the game there. That thing had been standing against him in this administration. The Igbos will always remember him and what he said. But now to brainwash the people and make the people believe that this government is not working, it's not working in that narrative that he tried to express in that particular conversation he had with someone in 2013. They give him the assignment here to begin to, because they believe that we easily forget. They believe we can easily be manipulated. They look at people like Simon. If people like Simon can gather all these people, manipulate them, collect their monies, then what we can do this better. They look at all of this stuff and they believe that if the Igbos can be manipulated in spite of how smart they claim to be, manipulated like some by someone who is using a tactics that is not even intelligent. And if they can abandon Mazin and Mikano and begin to give lavish money on the criminal in Finland, then what else can we not tell them that they will believe? We can begin to manipulate them in this regard, because all they want, why they are following Simon, is because because they want freedom, and they are seeking for development, and they're hungry. So Simon is promising them to give them that. So if we can promise them also to give them that, and using me, who has talked against them before, now in power, and they are thinking that I am against them, let me now be the one to play the game for the British contraption and on behalf of the Nigeria proxy, that is helping the British to oversee their business called Nigeria. So you see, he now comes here to speak because he believes you would always see sense. Somehow, some of you will reject it, some of you will believe it. Those ones who are one Nigerianists will believe it and tap into it and say, "Oh, this man is going to see light. He's going to think right. He's going to now understand this whole thing." That's what you think. So he says the vice president disclosed that he rejected it. The vice president disclosed that he rejected the proposal that suggested to cut off the southeast from electricity supply due to a debt profile, noting that President Bola Tinubu means well for the nation, noting that the Southeast and the governors of the zones are the best among others. Now you see, after playing the dirty game initially, now he's now trying to play the card here, giving you a concept, an idea that's sustaining the slave narrative under the auspices of Nigeria is more important than making you think that he's against you. So for this now, he is going to make it look like he supports you getting what you want, the freedom, the development that you want, the hunger that that's making you cry for freedom. He is supporting that this hunger is taken away by the industrialization of the Southeast. And by so doing, they will get your mind away from division. You will say, okay, now we are developed, we are growing, we are getting everything nice. So why do we need to separate? So they have to play that card, and so they will delay Mazin Namdekan for a while so that they will be able to brainwash you with all of this information. And over time, remember what the president has been saying, he has been saying also, and their men and their people have been saying, they now want to talk about developing your land so that by the time Mazin Namdekan comes out, they'll say, oh, the land is there. Don't you see what they're doing? Development is going on. So let's palm for now. Let's patch for now, those slangs we use those days. Let's patch for now. Let's leave the issue of freedom for now. Mazinam can relax, rest. Let's patch for now. Let's see what these governors can do. Let's see how they can develop the Southeast so that we can begin to enjoy the benefits of what the resources. Now remember, the resources you are getting in your land is divided so that what you get for your own development is small. You can imagine if you have your own nation and all these resources are staying in your nation. Don't we reason? These are the things we should reason out. You can't be clamoring for one Nigeria when you can get abundance. In fact, you can be better than Kuwait and all these oil nations because you have the intellect, you have the capacity, you have the technological ability, you have the resources abundant in your land. And once those resources are managed within your land, let me say it as they say it, harbor, you can see the difference. Every black person all over the world will be longing to come to BIAFRA land. So why would you disagree? Why would you agree to stay in a place, in a relationship, that your wealth, your family wealth is stolen, is stolen, your family wealth is stolen, and a little is a part of it, a little part of it is given to you. And because they use that little part of it to give you one, two things, the school here, open this, the build airport here, you now become happy. When you can actually get all, and this development will be times 10 every year, or even times 100 every year. Because what is being stolen, aside the 1.5 million barrels of oil they said they are giving you as official figure of what they take, I mean, they refine every day, there are still some being sucked by Britain, not accounted for, sucked by Julius Berger, sucked by some other people, not accounted for, sucked by these people who are having the oil wells, these Fulanis and these people sucking. The one they are stealing is more than what is being projected every day as being refined or being sold. Not refined, anyways, the crude that is sold every day. So you can imagine if you now have your nation and you control all these thefts, instead of Britain taking it, Britain will be paying for it. Instead of Germany and other places, Shell and other people stealing, they will be paying for it. You can imagine what will be coming to your nation. You can imagine that the projects you will be, and you can imagine how you control all the thieving, including the ones, even these ones they sell, they still steal from it. You can imagine how you can control all those monies, none of them being stolen, all of them now kept, and how you can be rich. Every Biafran would be, an average Biafran would be comfortable. So why would I go for a thing that is stealing my resources and giving me less than 1%? Why would I go for that when I can get the 100% and live a better life? So what Shettima is doing here is promoting the narrative of you getting your 1% rather than getting your 100%. That's what he's doing here. And that's what she wants you to embrace. Says the vice president made a remark during the launch of Southeast Business Roundtable. They will organize, make sure that these things are organized. They will now come and say all the rubbish they want to say in those places. And for those who want to be misled, they will be misled. Light Up Nigeria program. That's what they titled it. And this is where they put their men to organize these kinds of programs. When they organize these kinds of programs, they put some budgets and steal resources. Tell you they spend so amount, in the programs. Conducted by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited in Ogun. Now, this reminded me of what is happening in the NDDC, also what they call it, Niger Delta Development and stuff, blah blah. If you see the kind of stealing that is going on in that place, I remember when I wanted to start producing, and when I wanted to get them involved in, in my magazine then, you know, 2013, my magazine, I wanted to get, NDDC, and I had a connection. And through that connection, I began to see how they are lotting different projects to different people who are their people and all of that. And those ones are using to, they are stealing the monies. They are stealing the little given to them from the whole they can have and build their nation. Because what is given to NDDC is little compared to what is their own. Yet they steal it because they want to behave like the Nigerians. They keep stealing. They make them feel that they have given them enough, and the few of them steal. It's like deep-seated corruption going on in that place. Governor Peter Mba of Enugu State said that the Light Up Nigeria project signals a new dawn for power and industrialization of the Southeast region, noting that the initiative aligns with his administration's disruptive approach to governance, underpinned by thinking outside the box. I don't know what thinking outside the box is. The usual thing they do: build roads, build schools, build this stuff. Is that thinking outside the box? No, they don't have any special plan. But the normal thing that should have been done for the people is being taken as thinking outside the box. According to Vice President Shettima, we have to make the Southeast work. Imagine a man, a Fulani man, who is a grand sponsor of terrorism, sponsoring his foot soldiers coming to the same land he's saying that it has to work. Now, in his mind here, let me tell you, in his mind here, What he's doing is takia because he is still working to overtake those places using his foot soldiers. They are still working, grand planning. They are still planning massively to control the territories. I've taken much time. Let me just read through so that we can understand. I think we're already 1 hour here, in broadcast. We are targeting the southeast for a 2 million job for women and the youths. And the youths, we are proceeding to Abia State to commission the power station built by the elder statesman, Professor Bath Naji. And we will also commission some road projects and back to Enugu to commission the smart school because education is the greatest gift you can give a generation. Says a man who has so many Almajiris in his place. And even when Goodluck Jonathan built schools for the Almajiris, they destroyed it. Now he's telling you now that education is a gift to a generation. What does that tell you? Don't you see the manipulation here? In his remarks, the managing director, blah, 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 let me not read those ones, said that the forum provides an opportunity to interact with the vice president. They want to build for their people. They go to invite a terrorist and one in whose place they don't value schooling. They want their people to continue to be poor. And that is the same person they're coming to invite to talk about education and other things to grow their own places. What does that tell you? Oh my. I don't have time. I would have want to dwell on this, but I just want to read these things and then close for today. Adding that the launch was also for the southeast phase of the strategic collaboration between NDPHC, that's Niger Delta Power Holding Company, and other project parties to provide steady and reliable electricity supply to industrial and business clusters around across Nigeria. Ubo stated that one major challenge the NDPHC has was the lack of sufficient transmission and distribution infrastructure to transport power from the plants, adding that another challenge stems from financial difficulties. In the same complaint over and over and over, they have been saying this over and over. Now, let me ask a question. Why would you boost the why would you generate power you cannot distribute? It's just like the policy of the government now. They said they are conducting economic reforms, yet they didn't set or place a cushioning effect for the people so that when this comes to play, it will not affect the people the way it is affecting the people now. Now they generate power. They refuse to put the institutions or the companies, the distribution companies, aright, equip them and give them what is needed, set these things aright so that the development will be together. As you are generating, you are distributing. They will now be the ones to complain that these things are not distributed. That's why people don't have it. They are generating, but they are not distributing. They cannot distribute because blah blah blah. How can you be telling people? How can reasonable people be thinking like this? Because of time, let me just conclude this. Adding that another challenge stems from financial difficulties in the electric power sector, leading to inadequate payment by distribution companies and Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company to generation companies like NDPHC. Why is it like that? Why? It doesn't make sense. Look at the huge indebtedness to the generation companies affects the ability of the generation companies to pay for gas supply, leading to gas shortage, supply shortage, and the resulting low generation. Can you imagine what they're saying here? At a recent press conference, the Honorable Minister of Power rightly identified this severe liquidity crisis as a major impediment to electricity supply in the country, with over 1.3 trillion old generation companies. 1.3 trillion naira old. Now you can see what imbalance and no proper planning can cause. How can you talk about they focused on generation? Obasanjo spent billions of dollars in this sector. Other subsequent governors, administrations came, they spent billions. Yet they couldn't balance the generation, distribution, and all of that. They couldn't balance all of this stuff. They couldn't balance it. Generation, distribution, and regulation. They couldn't balance these three part of it. They focused on generation. They are now complaining that distribution is causing problems. In fact, they are being owed. Oh, Lord have mercy. NDPHC alone is owed close to 200 billion naira out of that. Can you imagine talk? I'm going to stop here because the write up here is just okay. Let me just read fast so that I can finish it up. I think it's remaining later for me to finish it. These challenges of lack of sufficient transmission and distribution infrastructure to transport electricity from the plants and the sector market liquidity crisis has resulted in gross underutilization underutilization of installed generation assets with unserved potential grid electricity consumers, particularly industries, some of which are represented here today, resorting to expensive and often inadequate self-generation. Can you imagine? How, does this make sense to you? In response to these challenges, NDPHC initiated the Light Up Nigeria project. So they have to organize a program like this to talk about these things. When these things were supposed, the whole program they have for the electricity um, industry. These things are supposed to be there. Do you need programs like this to talk about? Must they organize programs to keep talking about things like this when the whole package, professionals are in the electricity industry? Why are the professionals not putting things right? But they must organize programs like this where they will steal more money and tell you they have spent so amount for organizing the program, and then to use it as a means of getting politicians to shine, to make promises and make the people feel they are working. You generate and you don't distribute, and you said the facilities to distribute, the infrastructure is not there. How? Or the infrastructure is there but they are not connected. There's a what nonsense talk is that? In response to these challenges, NDPHC initiated a Light Up Nigeria project, which aims to provide reliable and affordable electricity supply to industries and homes by utilizing underutilized generation capacity, establishing trading agreements with bulk purchasers of electricity, and mobilizing investments to address technical, commercial, and collection losses in the supply chain. Additionally, NDPHC aims to receive full payment for the electricity generation and delivery or delivered without relying on the federal government for such payments. They didn't have those kinds of plans. It is now they're having it. The project aligns with the Electricity Act of 2023, graciously signed into law by His Excellency President Bola Tinubu, GCFR. So there is no project, there is no Electricity Act all this while, which provides a strong framework for state governments to develop electricity markets at the sub-national level with the aim of delivering consistent and affordable electricity to residents. So there have been not these kinds of plan have never been. It has only been on the national level and faulted, well faulted. That means the plan itself, the policies on ground, whether they have it, maybe they were not implementing it or something, but something is critically wrong. Through the Light Up Nigeria project, state government will derive the benefit of increased access to electricity, attraction of investment opportunities, revenue generation, and economic growth. At the federal level, the project will help to reduce the financial burden on FG and federal government of Nigeria balance sheets from debt exposure of NBET. The project is further reinforced by NERC, maybe National Electric Regulation Company or something. MYTO 2024. MYTO, I think it's what does it mean? I don't know. Which mandates distribution companies. Okay, NERC's MYTO 2004. That means National Electric Regulation Companies MYTO 2024, which mandates distribution companies to secure adequate bilateral contracts and exit from contractual relationships with NBET. NDPHC remains at the forefront in pursuing bilateral electric forefront, electric power sales and other projects that ensure efficient and targeted electricity delivery to end users. That's the end. And after this, everybody goes to sleep. And Shettima would have made his political mark. And then the Takia continues. I'm going to stop here for now. And I want to appreciate you guys who are here and those of you who are going to watch later. It is very, very important that we open the eyes of our people. Hopefully, we might have a part two of this. I don't know. But we might talk along this line because we must expose what is happening in the camp of the Nigeria contraption and also expose what is happening in the camp of the criminals using the issue of freedom to steal from our people. Every Tuesday, we will look at the Nigerian narrative and how Nigeria is being used as a means of defrauding the people and manipulating the people. I think we'll do that every Tuesday and Thursday. Then on Friday, we'll look at the criminals doing all the criminality, look at their posts and all these details and interpret to you, help you understand what they mean so that you can understand these things. And other times we'll talk about international issues and other things that affects us and other teachings. Basically, we want to make this thing rich and content, having enough content for the purpose of giving our people the full benefit of sensitization, information, and also knowledge. Very, very important. The truth stands the test of time. Truth Channel Network represents the platform of truth. Please share this broadcast on all your social media platforms. Like the video first, and then subscribe to the channel. We need you to distribute the gospel of truth by sharing. It will help us to go far. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you guys. And recently, we've not been having messages. I don't know whether we have messages I'm not seeing, but I've not been seeing messages in our broadcasts, and all of that. So, please get yourself acquainted with what is happening and be careful not to fall into the hands of criminals who use the freedom mandate to steal from you. Thank you all. I appreciate you, and God bless you very good.